everyone, it's Carolyn and welcome back to Contemporary Mama. Today's video is another meal prep video. I'm going to be prepping for breakfast, lunch, and snacks throughout the week as per usual. Now I did wanted to let you know if you were interested in seeing any dinner meal prep content, please leave me a comment down below. It's not something that I typically do, but if there are a group of you that would appreciate that kind of content, I would be more than happy to create it. So again, just leave me a comment all the way at the bottom of this page, letting me know you'd be interested in more dinner meal preps. But for today, we're going to be sticking to breakfast and lunch. So on my agenda today, I'm going to be making some Skinny Taste Easy Bagels, instant pot egg bites. I'm also going to be creating a tuna chickpea salad for lunch, some lighter calorie, lower calorie brownies for dessert, as well as prepping some veggies for snacks. So if that sounds good to you, then come on into my kitchen and let's get prepping. So I'm getting started with my breakfast prep, and like I mentioned, I'm going to be making a big batch of the Skinny Taste Easy Bagels. And these are called Easy Bagels for a reason. They only have 5 ingredients. There's no yeast, there's no boiling. You can seriously whip them up almost any day of the week. But I'm going to make a big batch for my family to make throughout the whole week. So I'm actually going to be doubling the recipe that she uses. Now, if you need to be gluten-free, egg-free, dairy-free, she has tons of those substitutions that you can make to meet your dietary requirements on the recipe. It's going to be linked down in the description box, but I'm just going to be making it the regular way. And what's great about these bagels is that they are made with a really good amount of Greek yogurt. So not only are you going to be having a delicious bagel, but you're also going to be getting a ton of protein along with it. So it's super simple. Let me show you how I just throw it together. I'm gonna start with 2 cups of flour. This is just regular white flour. I have tried these before using whole wheat flour. It just wasn't my cup of tea, so I'm just gonna use the regular white flour. And then I'm going to, before I add in the Greek yogurt, I'm gonna add in the rest of my dry ingredients. So that's gonna be 4 teaspoons of baking powder. So a really good tip is to just take a quick peek at your baking powder before you make these and make sure that it's not expired. A lot of us don't use baking powder very regularly, so it does tend to go bad before we can use up the whole container. Your bagels aren't gonna rise as much if yours is expired. And then you're also gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt and you're using table salt, just use a little bit less. But I love using kosher salt. So all my dry ingredients are in the bowl. I'm just gonna mix this up. And then I'm gonna add in 2 cups of Greek yogurt. It's really important that you use plain Greek yogurt. If you use regular yogurt, there's just too much liquid in it and your bagels are just not gonna have a good texture. So you definitely want to use Greek yogurt. I'm using plain because I'm going to make a savory bagel. But if you want to make like a sweeter bagel, like you can add in cinnamon raisin and do a bagel like that, then you could definitely switch it up with the flavor, but just make sure that it's Greek yogurt. And if there's any little bit of liquid on top of your Greek yogurt container, then you just want to kind of drain that off. You want as little liquid in the yogurt as possible. So my dry ingredients are pretty well mixed, so I'm just going to add in 2 cups of this Greek yogurt, and then I'm going to mix it into my flour mixture. All right, so I divided up my dough and I rolled it out into these long ropes. My dough is a little bit sticky, which sometimes happens. If that happens, just dust on a little bit of extra flour so that it doesn't stick too much to your hands. So now that they're in these rope shapes, I'm gonna form them into the bagels. So I just sprayed my baking sheet with some spray, and then it's so easy. All you do is just twist the rope into a little bagel shape. So I am just going to do that for all my little ropes, and they do rise a little bit, so just leave a little bit of room so that they don't get too crowded. And then once they're all in their bagel forms, you're just gonna brush it with a little bit of egg wash. You can use a whole egg or egg white if you wanna cut back the calories a little bit. So you just wanna brush the egg wash on top and then top it with whatever seasoning you like. Everything bagels are totally my favorite. So I'm gonna be using the everything but the bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's. But if you wanna use onion flakes or just salt or cinnamon raisins, cinnamon sugar, then definitely go for it. You can pretty much customize this to however you want. So I'm just going to brush my bagels and top them, and then these are gonna go in a 375-degree oven. All right, so I'm gonna stick these on the top shelf of the oven and they will bake for about 25 minutes. And seriously, that is it. All right, so next up we are moving on to our egg bites, and these, like I mentioned, are a copycat version of those Starbucks sous vide egg white bites that we all love. They are so light, fluffy, creamy, and delicious. I can't get enough of them. So I'm really hoping that these are gonna turn out amazing. These are actually gonna be made in the Instant Pot instead of using a sous vide, so I think a lot of us will be able to prepare these since sous vides aren't really quite as common. So I'm gonna get started and show you exactly how I make them. I'm gonna be doing a double batch because my silicone mold that you are going to need is pretty small. So I'm definitely gonna need more than just these. A lot of people have these laying around if you've ever made your own baby food, but I had already gotten rid of mine because my daughter is now 2. So I ordered this with an Instant Pot accessory kit on Amazon. But again, I'll probably be getting one that's a little bit bigger because I'm not sure if you can tell, but these are pretty small. But whatever, we're gonna use them anyways. Gotta make do with what we have. All right, so these are gonna have eggs and bacon and spinach and cheese. They're gonna be super duper yummy. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is put a little bit of chopped bacon in the bottom of your egg bite molds. If you have already made bacon, like for, say for breakfast or something else, you can always just use leftover bacon, but there is no such thing as leftover bacon in my house. So I'm just using these store-bought bacon bits just to make things easy, and so I don't have to do another thing to prep these, and they'll come together much more quickly. So I'm just putting, you know, maybe like a tablespoon, or probably less actually, in the bottom of these molds. You can put as much or as little as you like, or even just leave it out altogether if you are a vegetarian or just don't like bacon for some strange reason. But now that the bacon is in the bottom of all the molds, I'm gonna go ahead and make the egg mixture. So you can make this in any blender, but I'm just gonna use my NutriBullet just because I have it handy. So you're gonna start by adding your eggs in here. Again, I'm doing a double batch, so feel free to have everything that I'm doing. So I'm gonna put eight eggs in here, about 2 cups of cheese, half a cup of cream. I'm gonna use half and half just because that's what I have. A tablespoon or 2 of hot sauce, or a teaspoon or 2 of hot sauce, I mean. And also salt and pepper just to your taste, and then a cup of cottage cheese. So I have these little mini ones that I'm gonna be adding. This is what's gonna make it so light and fluffy like the Starbucks ones. So I'm just gonna add everything in here and then give it a good blend in the NutriBullet. All right, so that's all blended. Now the original recipe had mentioned adding some chopped spinach into the egg mixture, but you know what? I just thought about it and I'm just gonna pop it right into the molds so that it's sort of evenly divided. And then you're gonna pour your egg mixture to fill up the molds, and then we'll stick it in the Instant Pot to cook. All right, so as you can see, my trivet is in the Instant Pot that comes with your Instant Pot. And then I'm just gonna pour a cup of water at the bottom. And then I covered my baby food mold or silicone mold with foil. So that just gets placed right on there. And then I'm just gonna put the lid on. Make sure it's closed tight. Make sure that my valve is set to the ceiling setting. So for your settings, you're gonna go to steam and set this for 9 minutes. When it's all done, let it natural release for 10 minutes before you release the rest of the pressure and they will be done. So I'm gonna be doing this probably a couple times because again, my molds are so small. So I'll just be doing this in the background while I'm finishing up the rest of the meal prep. All right, so my bagels just came out of the oven, and while my oven is already preheated, I'm gonna get started on my dessert. So like I mentioned before, I'm gonna be making the Skinny Taste Amazing Flourless Brownies. You are never gonna guess what the secret ingredient in this is. It's actually a can of black beans, but don't worry, you will never know, and no one in your family will ever know unless you wanna tell them. So that makes it really easy to make these a flourless brownie, so they are quite a bit healthier than your traditional brownie, which is exactly why I'm making them today. As I've mentioned over and over before, I have a pretty big sweet tooth, so it's important for me to have some healthier sweet items on hand so that I'm not digging into my kids' ice cream cones and popsicles. So I'm gonna whip these up, show you how I make them, and trust me, you're gonna wanna make a batch ASAP. So I just scooped my batter out of the blender, and I'm gonna add in about a cup of chocolate chips. You want these to be a little bit more on the sweet side, then feel free to use milk chocolate chips instead of semi-sweet. But I'm just gonna fold those in, and then since Valentine's Day is right around the corner, I'm gonna use this cute little heart-shaped silicone mold that I got at Target. So I'm gonna just scoop my batter in the molds, pop these in a 350 degree oven for 30 minutes, and then my brownies will be ready to eat. bomb went off, but all that means is that we're getting closer to the end of this meal prep, and I saved the easiest things for last. So for lunch, I'm trying something a little bit different than usual, and I'm gonna be making the Skinny Taste Tuna Chickpea Salad. This is a great option for a meal prep because it doesn't contain any mayo, and the longer that you let it sit, the more the flavors marinate together, and it just gets better and better. So I'm gonna be doubling the recipe so that I have plenty to last me for the next couple of days. Let me show you how I whip it up all together, and I'll show you again how I'm planning on serving it. Okay, so this is a no-bake recipe. Just whip everything together in a big bowl. So since I'm doubling the recipe, I have 2 cans of chickpeas or garbanzo beans, whatever you call them. I already rinsed them, drained them. You didn't need to see me do that. You know what to do. Again, I'm doubling the recipe, so I have 2 cans of tuna. I like getting the solid white tuna in water. I just think that that tastes the best and has the best texture. So that's what I'm using. And then I'm also adding in some red onion. You could do 2 tablespoons or up to 4 tablespoons. I just chopped up a little piece. I don't know how much it is, probably about 3 tablespoons. I am also gonna add in some red wine vinegar. This is gonna be the liquid in this since we're not gonna be using mayo. So I'm gonna do 4 tablespoons of this. Now the original recipe called for capers and the brine that comes in capers. I didn't have any and my grocery delivery service was out. So I'm just gonna substitute in some green olives since I happen to have a little bit left in the jar. So I think that's gonna work perfect. Plus I love olives and they still have that same salty brine. So I'm just gonna add in a couple tablespoons of those. And then I'm also gonna add in a couple tablespoons of the brine that it comes in. Okay, so now that's actually all that there is to it. So I'm just gonna use a fork to kind of mix this up and get the tuna incorporated into the chickpeas. Now, when I was looking up this recipe, I did see a couple people suggest adding in some chopped hard-boiled egg for extra protein. I think that's an awesome idea. So I'm gonna try it on its own this time, but I think for sure in the future, I'm gonna add in some chopped hard-boiled egg because I absolutely love hard-boiled eggs. And that is just gonna give this even more protein. So that looks like it is pretty well combined. So my plan for this, since chickpeas already have a pretty good amount of carbohydrates in them, I didn't want to add this to like a traditional wrap or make it into a sandwich. So what instead I have already done is wash up a bunch of romaine hearts. So I'm going to be just serving these in these big pieces of romaine to make it a nice lower carb lunch. So I think that's going to be super tasty. Adding in some greens as well, you can't go wrong. So I think this is gonna be a delicious lunch that I'm gonna enjoy all week long. So the very last thing that I need to do is prep my veggies. I didn't prep any veggies last week, and honestly, I had so much produce go to waste, and I hate letting food go to waste. So what I like to do is wash all the vegetables that I have, peel them, prep them, cut them up, put them into a big container so that I can just grab them throughout the week and use them for snacks. And I can also whip up a super easy salad because everything is already chopped and ready to go. So that's the last thing that I need to do, and then I'm gonna be all done with this meal prep and I'll show you how everything turned out. So I just finished meal prepping. My last batch of my egg bites just came out of the Instant Pot. I already tried one because I could not resist. They are delicious. Seriously, the texture on these is exactly the same as the Starbucks ones. This is gonna save me so much money. And I actually like this little bite-size size. I mean, if I leave out the spinach, my kids would actually eat these. They are delicious with the bacon and the cheese. And again, they're super soft and fluffy due to that cottage cheese, I think. So those are great. I think they'd also be perfect to serve at a brunch because they are so bite-sized. Okay, next. I have my tuna chickpea salad. I have a big container of it. As you can see, this is gonna last me pretty much all week, probably the next 4 or 5 days. My lettuce wraps are all washed and ready to go, so those will be perfect for a quick lunch at home or at work. I have 8 bagels ready to eat throughout the week. My yummy everything but the bagel topping. Now, I don't think I mentioned before, these are only gonna last you like 3 to 4 days. I keep them in the fridge even because they have no preservatives, obviously, because we made them from scratch. So I like to keep them in the fridge. Then you can just slice them, pop them in the toaster, or warm them up however you want. And if you aren't going to eat them within like 3 to 4 days, then I would suggest just wrapping them up in some plastic wrap and then popping them in the freezer. You could even slice them before you put them in the freezer, so you could just take it out frozen and put it in the toaster. So those are going to be delicious. I love that they have protein in them. Like, bagels don't have protein usually, so that is just so great that they're lighter on calories and they have protein in them. So they're going to be a great breakfast to go along with my egg bites. My yummy flourless black bean brownies are here in my little heart shape molds. They're so cute, perfect for Valentine's Day. I think I'm gonna have one right now actually. And then last but certainly not least are my bright colorful veggies. These are all washed, prepped, ready to go, ready to snack on, ready to pop into like a salad at the last minute when I'm whipping something up for dinner. So yeah, that is everything that I made. So now I just have to clean up the kitchen. So I want to thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this meal prep. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave because, again, this is a monthly series. So I am going to be doing these meal preps the first Friday of every single month. So you definitely don't want to miss any of those videos. So give it a thumbs up, subscribe before you leave, and then you'll be a part of the Contemporary Mama YouTube family. So I'm going to see you all on Tuesday with a brand new video. Thanks again for watching. Bye.